Hey, welcome everyone, this is Snoo. Today I've got a super exciting video. I've really been looking forward to this one. You're looking at a build showcase of what I've been working on for the better part of a week now. What started off as a lightning arrow project, total meme. I gotta tell you, this had, if you'd have asked me a week or so ago, did this have any chance of working out? I'd say probably not, almost certainly not gonna work out, not even gonna be hardly functional. Let alone good, let alone better than the meta, right? Well, this is one of those classic cases where I go into it with good intentions, low expectations. I should have had high expectations. And you know what? I want you to have high expectations for this video. I'm literally asking you to raise your expectations for whatever you're about to see. I don't care how high they automatically are. Make them higher, because this is going to blow your mind. This build, you're going to learn something new in here. For any high-rolling MFer out there like me, you're going to be really delighted in what you see. But even if that's not you, even if you actively hate Magic Find, I promise you, you're going to get something out of this video. We're combining all kinds of tech, brand new and exciting tech from this league, as well as some old and forgotten things that nobody uses. Like Sublime Vision, for example. I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag on that. That's sort of the big genesis of the build, that item right there. And that's what I mean when I said probably a meme, probably not going to work out. But anyway, I'm going to showcase this video like I usually do. We'll get into the introduction, the conception of the build, the core items. I'll do a map showcase. I got a proper map showcase here. I guaranteed a delirium mirror to spawn in there, doing exactly the kind of content I would want this character to do for Magic Find. And then we'll go over the gear, the gems, the passives, the final thoughts, the whole shebang. And we're going to do it 3 times because I had so much fun doing this, and with Sublime Vision being as unique as it is, I decided to parse this off into 3 separate builds. One for a Deadeye, one for a champion, and one for an ascendant. And they're all 3 different flavors. They're all 3 different enough that it felt warranted to actually make 3 different builds. But they're all fairly equal in power threshold. You know, the champion's more defensive, the ascendant's maybe a little more well-rounded or faster at least. And the Deadeye, the way I have this one set up now, last minute change by the way, definitely the most powerful in terms of offensive capabilities. So yeah, we're going to look at the most powerful one, the classic choice. I'm going to call this a Sublime Anger Magic Find Lightning Arrow Deadeye. That's what we're looking at. So let's get into this build. It all began with Sublime Vision, as mentioned before. What is Sublime Vision? It is a jewel that drops off Uber Shaper. It's been around for over a year. Almost nobody uses it. Why? Because it forces you to use only one aura. So everyone wrote it off the second they saw it, basically. Because why would you ever choose to use one aura when we have mana reservation efficiency and we have more access to more auras than ever before? You can have 3 50% auras. You can have a couple 25% auras. You can have 10% auras. You can have everything now. You can almost squeeze in everything. Aura bot or not. Well, turns out you don't need all that. Turns out we're uniquely motivated to reserve gem slots for other powerful options than just auras. This is coming from somebody who has used double awakened enlightened supports setups, arrogant support, 6 linked aura supports, plus 2 other auras. I mean, I had a build that devoted like 12.5 gems to auras before, so if anybody wasn't going to be a believer in this, it was me on this. I'm telling you what, this absolutely insane. So the Deadeye is going to feature Anger, and we'll get into why I did Anger in a second. The champion will feature Vitality with Cast on Crit, Forbidden Right, with insane amounts of life regen, which transforms into Rage regen. All 3 of these builds actually feature a lot of Rage regen. This was another sort of hard red line I threw down for this build. I wanted to have a high Rage regen build. And the Ascendant will feature a more standardized choice of Haste, and which is why it kind of come out to be the best. I have reasons for choosing each one of those for the different builds. It's not just because I can, but because they're actually more suited to those specific styles. We'll get into that. But the Deadeye, in this case, is doing Anger. You'll notice that Anger does something really awesome. It transforms my Ignites into Scorch. Now, if you don't know what that does, Scorch makes enemies, lowers their elemental resistances. It's basically like a double. It's basically like having elemental weakness twice over on hit. That's basically, think of it like that. Super powerful on there. And we all know how bad Ignite is. Unless you're making a build specifically for Ignite. It's pretty bad. But this is a triple element focused Magic Find build. It's super high budget. Totally admit it's out of range for a lot of players. I understand that. I'd say baseline probably about 1,000 divines to even get started on this. You wouldn't have to have mirror tier gear specifically, but if you put all the gear together and you had, you know, a pretty strong elemental bow, you're looking at probably at least 1,000 divines. I mean, you can see there's a one passive voices here. We're not saying you have to have a one passive voices, but you probably do need a voices to make this work, because we're using a lot of gems, a lot of jewels, a lot of moving parts. It fits together really nice and tight. That's how I make my builds. I make them for me, and you know, I bring you guys along for the ride. There's still surprisingly high number of people that follow them anyway. So yeah, again, Sublime Vision, Anger, Scorch. Can only use one aura. Now, most Magic Find builds use Purity of Elements. It's like the most important one. Well, I can get around that with Stormshot. Most Magic Find builds have Grace or some kind of defense, otherwise they're just going to fall over the second they get in combat. Well, we get around that too. Another core item, we're combining Progenesis with Petrified Blood. And most importantly, an enormous life pool. For this kind of character, this character has 94% quant and 443% rarity. What in the world am I doing with 4.4k life? That should be almost impossible. Well, high budget, got a lot of corruptions, prioritized max life where I could. And I was able to get basically more life than you should probably have on a pure Magic Find character. If you combine a Progenesis, Petrified Blood, and a huge life pool, that's some spanking good defense. That tech together, those three things right there, is insane. That's way more valuable than just Grace, for example. Or even probably Grace and Determination together, I would say. Of course, it kind of depends on your recovery now, doesn't it? But we'll get into that. Speaking of recovery, Calm Spirit is going to be a constant along all three builds. They feature a lot of the same gear, but of course they all three, so speaking of corruptions, you can see right there. Calm Spirit transforms regen into rage per second, and the Deadeye is the weakest one of the three, clocking in at, I believe, 8.5 rage per second in combat, which is still kind of a lot, more than I ever had before. And there's a good reason for that, because I want my rage to be able to go all the way to the top before Berserk comes off cooldown. Having Berserk with capped rage, that's nice. That's a lot of defense, and a lot of offense, and a lot of speed. Speaking of speed, another core item, Mage Blood. I usually run a Headhunter, but this is the first time I'm running Mage Blood. I suppose one of the biggest core items is Lightning Arrow, actually not using Tornado Shot for once. Lightning Arrow, it's the flavor of the month. People love it a lot. Which is better, Lightning Arrow, Tornado Shot? I think Lightning Arrow is better if your damage meets a certain threshold for the difficulty, content difficulty. You can't let the content difficulty get too high for the gear threshold you have. Otherwise, Tornado Shot, because it does scale better. But make no mistake, Lightning Arrow absolutely clears faster. So yeah, we're doing Lightning Arrow, Mage Blood, massive rage regen, Anger, Scorch, high life, Progenesis, Divination Distillate still involved. This Mage Blood was not that expensive, even with this double corruption. Because who wants a 3 flask Mage Blood? Nobody wants that, right? Pretty funny, actually. I couldn't believe it was less than 200 divines. This Mage Blood with this corruption. Anyway, we'll get into the rest of the gear, but those are the core items, and yeah, we'll get into how all of it works together a little more in the explanations of the gear and the passive and stuff. For now, I want to run a map. I want to show you just what this looks like. This character does a lot of damage, and it moves really fast, and has really high magic find. As you can see, when I use Divination Distillate, 94, and I actually have more rarity if you count the rarity roll here. Here we go! A little bit laggy there because I'm recording, I guess. Okay. Looking for the boss room. Unlucky. Can't find the boss room. So I want you to pay close attention to the rage. You notice that the it just triggered again after Berserk came off cooldown, and it was able, or almost able, to go all the way up to max. Usually it does, actually, on there at rage. So for me, if I'm using anomalous Berserk, I need to have at least 8 rage per second to do what I want to do. There. Wow, I selected divination dupes over Grand Eldritch. Going for gold here. We're going for gold. I was afraid I was going to miss that breach there from a misclick. A lot of altars spawning on this map. Wow. A very good map, altar-wise. So you see the mirror is still stuck. I've still not lost the mirror. Again, the Atlas strategy, you can look in the description to see the POB or the Atlas. The timestamps, of course, is all down there. I meant to click that, actually. I guess I forgot. I do not even have extra time on the Legions, but that's okay because I'm so crazy fast, moving around fast, doing so much damage. You may have to pause or rewind to see how much shock is done. If I did actually see minus 30%, so max shock was on that Beyond boss there in the Delirium. That's a good sign. That says that, in fact, I'm getting maximum ailment threshold off of Lightning Arrow, of all things. Now, I do have a tier 1 fire damage roll plus anger, but how in the world am I actually managing to, I mean, max shock on a Lightning Arrow character, that's one thing, but how did I get max Scorch on there? Well, that's because using Mana Forge setup, baby. Burning Arrow. Burning Arrow does huge damage, even with just one link. So if I get that Burning Arrow off and it crits, absolutely that's going to max shot or max Scorch, I suspect. Does it look like I'm close to dying at any point during this? Have I even come close? I should show you the map mods here. You can see the map mods. You can see it's not that dangerous, but you know it does have at least one nasty damage mod on there. A little bit extra life, so this isn't a complete joke of a map. It's 8 mod corrupted, Wandering Path, Strongbox, Legion with Legion bosses, Delirium Mirror, and Beyond on it. So I mean, this is not we're not joking around here. You know, if you can do this kind of map on a strong Magic Find character, you got it made. You make tons of currency mapping doing this. It's kind of important because the mapping material costs are pretty high this league. Not gonna lie. So I think I'm done, right? Just kind of going through the map and opening things up. The mirror still hasn't caught up with me yet. Got my very tight loot filter here. Loot filter in the description below as well. Oh, there we go. That's the one I want to see. I'll Val Orb those up real good. Hit +1 Frenzy on them a while back. Sold for like 5 divines. Also, you'll notice that my life... Oh, wow, okay, alright. So, that is one situation where I probably will die. All buffs down, Inspired Learning down. The most dangerous Legion boss is actually the Maraketh second phase boss. He can kill me. He can chain kill me even there. But you can see with like, even without Inspired Learning buffs, I just absolutely shredded him, right? Granted, Delirium's gone now. So that's pretty typical map there. I typically do not die on this character anymore, except in a situation like that. Forgot to kill the Maraketh phase 2. You know, paid the price for it. Oh, one of these here. Yeah, that might still also kill me. Well, I did say this, I think I did say this character's weakness was defense, especially without Inspired Learning buffs. So, you see a few deaths here. They probably don't happen on the champion. Or maybe even the Ascendant. We'll see. But yeah, not so bad. You're actually getting to see this character's weakness, which is basically out of combat defense, especially. But the damage is unbelievable. Insane damage. The speed, crazy fast, even with the deaths, get in and out. Mage Blood speed, don't have to swap the belts or anything. Yeah, we'll just kind of leave everything in there. I'll take care of that later. I am going to talk to you about the gear now. So, we got the best bow in the entire game. Yeah, I know. I paid for it. Almost 3 mirrors. Explode isn't a big deal here. People keep talking about Explode in Magic Find. Oh, does an Explode brick your Magic Find? Explode only bricks Magic Find insofar as the Magic Find is conditional. Rarity support link. on your main skill gem. That's a conditional form of magic find. Wind Rippers, special modifiers. That's a conditional magic find affix. Magic find, just straight up 15% quant, 50% rarity, like on this chest. That's not conditional. That's global to my character. All explode damage is global to the character. It's been tested before. I know maybe like way back in the day it didn't work or something. It definitely works now. It has been tested somewhat recently. I've talked to plenty of people about this who are in the know. And it might even say so on the wiki. I'm not sure. But anyway, Ghoul Song is arguably the best bow in existence in the entire game. Standard, everything else. Got an amazing Crucible tree. You might be watching this after Crucible League. It probably doesn't exist anymore. Getting Rampage. I mean, Rampage is not crazy mandatory. I do a Invictus weapon swap for Poison Tornado Shot. I don't think you could probably do it here. Maybe you can, because Vengeance Cascade, you would have time to swap to get Rampage. But it's built into this one. And you know what? I don't know how this works with Scorch. For ignites inflicted with light. You know what? This might actually be giving me a 25% chance for double shock or double Scorch threshold. Actually, somebody find out about that. Would somebody, one of you kind viewers, look into that? I'm wondering if this does completely untested. So have not gone that deep into the testing side of things. But anyway, that is the bow. It is all tier 1. Not necessarily the very best mods on there. Wish I had more crit chance because I'm not crit capped. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how strong this is. The life on hit is really nice, actually, for this one, because I took out Vitality. I did have Vitality with life on hit, Watcher's Eye, but not on this build anymore. We also have a Quiver. I will be going for a Mirror Tier Quiver, but I mean, it's kind of basic here. Pretty good Quiver. It's all tier 1 except for the bow skill. This is actually not that hard to make. You just spam lightning essences on it and do it with the cannot roll attack mod. Finish on the prefixes there. And accuracy, this build, one of the problems that I had with this build is the accuracy requirement was so steep. In fact, even with perfect accuracy roll on this quiver, I still only have a 99% chance to hit. So I kind of dealt with, just left it there. And I do actually have a 4% chance to blind on hit off of a Bistjewel, but it's kind of a low chance. Anyway, yeah, good quiver, good implicit. Mirror tier will be better, for sure. Vengeance Cascade is, I suppose we'd classify this as new tech because it was buffed a lot this league. And what some people are not aware is while this did really bring online things like Ice Shot and Lightning Arrow, it did absolute wonders for those skills combined with Mana Forge Link setup. So you've probably seen this new Mana Forge build going around. I know Palstrom made a build showcasing all kinds of Mana Forge tech stuff. I'm not messing with cooldown reduction really, but you might have noticed in that build or in that map showcase, I went ahead and I put these down here for you. You can see Burning Arrow with the life tap support actually goes off very consistently, at least if I have mana, it does. Let me try it with mana. And then you can see Frenzy is up here, and it is not on life tap support, so it's a little less reliable, but reliable enough. And then you can see, Sniper's Mark going off and everything. I had Val Lightning Arrow in there too. But yeah, we'll go over the gems here in a second here. Just kind of going over gear. So Vengeance Cascade is a big deal. It is allowing my arrows to return to me. Even after chaining, they still come back. And they're always piercing. And, they do two. It basically does, I think, one pierce because of the helmet. It does one pierce, then one chain, and then comes back. And just pierces everything out. Even if it hits walls, it will die out and then come back. Pierce to me until it hits a wall on the backside. And then the arrow's truly finished. Does a lot of extra damage, though, for sure. Another place where I prioritize maximum life. So this is partially how I got 4.4k life. Is perfect rolls here on this Eyes of the Great Wolf. Also have a Ventor's Gamble, extremely well rolled. The Lightning Arrow is the only, the Lightning Resist is the only resistance mod that really matters. Actually, Fire and Cold I think could be like 0. It would be fine. Let's look here. Yeah, I mean, you can see Fire and Lightning are way overcapped. Fire and Cold, I mean. Lightning needs some help. I even helped it a little on the clusters. So that's kind of important there. Pariah, you could, I guess, technically go a second Ventors if you wanted, but then you would have to put Anger somewhere else. Here is where the Anger gem goes in. Extra powerful Anger. Wow. Where's the enlightened support? I don't need it, do I? Because I'm only running one aura, so I get to spend even fewer gems slots on auras, right? Okay, then we got Gold Worm. Again, a max life roll, movement speed roll, super strong there. It needs to have avoidance to stun, enchanted there. Calm Spirit, we already looked at. Trigger Commandment of Light when you take critical strike is in fact a consecrated ground, which is 5% life regen while I'm standing on it with crit. Not really going to play much of a role in mapping, but anyway. Yeah, Mage Blood, 3 flask uses there. Double Corrupted is nice. Fairly cheap when it's 3 flask corrupted because of the insane cat card, I think. You just turn it in, it's just straight up double corrupted. That's why, for example, it says elemental damage modifier with catalyst, because it's like random catalyst or something. Now here's a really cool item. This is one of my favorite items here. So I like to make this helmet for magic finding at some point. Sometimes the rolls are a little different. Here I actually prioritize life regen over magic find. Now I usually have like a tier 1 suffix rarity roll on here. But I get so much extra value from a tier 1 regen or increased life regeneration rate like across the board there, percent. Super awesome to have. It costs a lot to make the helmet this good. Berserk increased effect, crazy strong. Tornado Shot really needs that enchant, so it fits better with Lightning Arrow. The Lightning Arrow enchants aren't nearly as powerful as the Tornado Shot enchant, so it feels a lot better to go ahead and do a Berserk buff enchant. And of course, Berserk is very high uptime here. Just run it here. I mean, it can't even go down for a while anyway. That's all of the items there. Let's do the flask. So typical flask setup. I had these flasks done a long time ago. Going to have these enchanted up properly. We're going to go ahead and do elemental resistances on one, rarity on the other, 3% life regen on the other. Most other magic find builds will also feature like a jade flask or something. You don't need that. Progenis is going to be way more powerful than Jade Flask, I promise you, so long as you have a decent life pool and you're running Petrified Blood. Now, the Pathfinder gets Master Surgeon this league. I was super excited for that. But what I didn't understand is that, especially combined with life tap support, I mean, I can make my life regen. You see how much life regen I got. I take these off, right? Well, look how fast I can make my life go down. It's so good that I was even able to take mods like Herbalism and even take things like Peak Vigor down here, which increase my life recovery from Flask. Those would be huge no-nos normally because it would cap out my Divination Distillate. But now I have way more control over it. Again, brand new tech that's working in conjunction with some of the older tech, which is Petrified Blood, Divination Distillate. Used to use Blood Rage. I don't even have to use Blood Rage anymore. So really cool interaction there, allowing me to go ahead and have basically maximum Divination Distillate uptime. Really awesome. So that is the gear. Now I'm going to go over the gems. Let's start with the main 6-link. Lightning Arrow. I don't really know which variation is the best. I don't think it matters a whole lot. But Val Lightning Arrow, definitely want to have that. If you cast off a Val Lightning Arrow inside the body of a big hitbox boss, it just just evaporates. Just because it gets hit by every single arrow on that point. So very important to have Val Lightning Arrow. It actually plays a major role. Super strong on Beyond bosses, Legion bosses, the map boss. Absolutely love it. If the boss type has a really small hitbox, like the Crimson Temple map boss, it's kind of harder to pull off. But also, if it's in short corridors and the arrows bounce off the wall easier, super strong there as well. Really nice. So Trinity support. I mean, if you're running a triple element, this is one reason people try triple element bows, because Trinity is so crazy strong. And with the lightning focus one, Trinity is up 100% of the time. Mirage Archer support. This is probably one that would be a little flexible. You could potentially use a different one here, but most people love it. It just, as long as you do enough damage, again, this is kind of something else that makes Lightning Arrow faster than Tornado Shot, because you're getting so much auto-targeting going on. With Mirage Archer, and as long as you pass the threshold that the gear is above the difficulty threshold, then it's crazy strong. You all know how strong Mirage Archer is when you overgear the content. Awaken elemental damage with attack support makes it elemental reflect immune, but I'm not actually elemental reflect immune because I would have to use it in all 3 links, which I do have it in 2, and I go ahead and swap out one of the gems, usually Culling Strike. I just go ahead and swap it out. So I can run elemental reflect maps on this setup. still, because I actually wear a level 5 awakened elemental damage with attack support on 3 separate damage links. Let's see. But anyway, the main link, anomalous inspiration support. I did have divergent on here, but actually I need this to spend more mana. I need this to have a little higher mana to help get frenzy to go off more often, to help get more power charges more often. Increased critical damage support. You could run rarity support here, but I wouldn't recommend rarity support because it's conditional and it is not going to work with the explode mod. Also, if your Mana Forge arrow, your Culling Strike Frenzy is going to make the killing blow, it's not going to work. So you should probably go ahead and deal with the fact that you're not going to be able to run rarity support. And it's totally going to be worth it. It's going to be so much more damage anyway. Not a huge fan of rarity support unless you just hilariously outgear the content. But the content we're doing is not that easy here. Now, the second thing, this 6th link would usually be for auras. Not today. Not today. I'm getting something like 20 to 30% more damage on the entire build because I'm able to use a life tap support, triple elemental support, 3 primary skill gems damaging with an awakened elemental damage with attack support. It just happened to be the most DPS option there, and it's convenient for reflect purposes. And Ice Shot is nice because it helps freeze a little better. Lightning Arrow still works one other time in a Mana Forge support link. Burning Arrow, well, I've got extra reason to use Burning Arrow now. Look at that bad boy, 305.3% of base damage. You're telling me that's not going to max Scorch. That's definitely going to max Scorch. So Burning Arrow is one of the best ones because it suffers attack speed loss, 70% of base attack speed, but it's completely overridden by Mana Forge arrow support. So that makes Burning Arrow one of the highest DPS options in a Mana Forge arrow, period. Especially for element, and especially if I have Scorch on the build. All right, so we also have one more Mana Forge link with Frenzy and anomalous power charge on crit just for more power charge chance. Power charge pretty reliable. Mana Forge arrow supply. I did go ahead and use anomalous here, I think, for reduced mana cost because one of the challenges was to get Frenzy to go off all the time. You know, it's not super reliable here. You can kind of see Frenzy down there on the 6. Oh, that's kind of weird. It's a little bit broken when I run out of mana here. There, you could see it go off a few times. Okay. And Culling Strike. A Culling Strike is the least important gem link in all of these. Culling Strike's the least important. But, I mean, it's nice. You know, it's in the event that I'm in the Delirium, I'm against a Beyond boss or something, it does make the boss die sooner, of course. All right, so we also have the quintessential mark on hit support, Sniper's Mark. You know, people have been talking about Vengeance Cascade bricking Sniper's Mark. I tested Assassin's Mark. I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. It immediately felt like I had way less clear and not any better single target. I could be wrong. I didn't test it, you know, extensively, but I just didn't like it in general. I think Sniper's Mark is still really strong, even if Vengeance Cascade is somewhat bricked. I'm not sure it's 100% bricked either. I think it's only like quasi-bricked. Not exactly sure. Say something in the comments below if you know more about that, I guess. Herald of Ice. I just have extra reservation room. And guess what? Herald of Ice is not an aura. It's not an aura, so I can use it. You can use any of the heralds, by the way. You could use Herald of Thunder. I like the freeze, though. Freeze is always nice, and to get that proliferation is nice. And then dash. You gotta have one kind of dash. You could use flame dash. Everybody likes dash, though. It's very fast. Over here, one more link. We got an... I love this one. I always love having an enhanced support link combined with the blood and sand to get that juicy projectile speed. It's not necessary so much on this build as Tornado Shot. It's less necessary. You don't have to go off the wall with projectile speed. I do not have 200% increased projectile speed. It's still nice to have more. It's always nice because you get more percent damage with it too through the mastery. But I love it. Guess what? Blood and Sand, not an aura, so we can use it easily, no problem. You'll notice there's no Enlightened supports connected to these auras. Don't need them. Berserk. Oh yes, this is just real sweet right here. Massively reduced cooldown on Berserk makes it so I get more Berserk uptime. Very important for a build like this. This is why I love Calm Spirit. I think this is way better option than Sedima's. Yeah, I could have 10% more quantity. I could have over 100% quantity. Woo-hoo-hoo. Who cares? It doesn't even compare to the power that Berserk brings you. You're going to clear so much faster. You're going to live so much more. You're going to do way more damage. Forget it. Sedima's, old news. I wouldn't ever use them again. Unless for some reason you really, really wanted life regen, like actual life regen. for whatever reason. Otherwise, no. Yes, and then the other one. Oh, this is kind of a cool one. I don't need an enlightened support. Again, not only do I not need an enlightened support, I can even get away with putting a 35% aura, not aura, on attacks to an enhanced support to drive the reservation efficiency down. And it still works. And I still have 116 mana left. Super nice. You only need about 80 mana, by the way. I do have some corruptions. I got like 2% increased efficiency corruptions on jewels. Actually not necessary. A little quality of life. But you'll notice Sniper's Mark, 68 mana. Have at least 68 mana. I suggest having enough mana to cast Lightning Arrow and Sniper's Mark at the same time. So I guess that would be... Oh god, I made myself do math again, didn't I? 84? Yeah, 84. Have at least 84 mana in this case. So that is... Wow, what a solid enhanced 4-link. I'm going to get an Awakened enhanced support at some point. Really want it. I was running Anomalous Petrified Blood for even more damage reduction, but the dot damage was just insane. Survivability went way up when I got the dot damage to actually go lower than normal. You'll notice that 75% dot damage goes down to 66. Not a huge deal, but kind of nice. So there you go. Those are the gemmed links. I'm going to show you the passives now. All right, this is where the fun really begins. I can't tell you how much time I spent doing all this. We start with the Deadeye. Endless munitions is not super important, by the way. Lightning Arrow really only needs like 3 or 4 arrows. It needs at least that many because the thing is, you know, apparently shotgunning doesn't work. You can't hit an enemy more than once per attack. Now, Vengeful Cascade comes back. You can hit it again. Attacks, of course, you can still chain and pierce and hit multiple enemies with an attack. But if I fire 6 arrows into one enemy, only one of those arrows is actually landing on these attacks. So a little different than Tornado Shot. Ricochet is still very good, especially strong for Crimson Temple, of course. If I want to farm in Crimson Temple, something like that, it's good. Tailwind, the best one on there. And this, in my opinion, is the second best one. I think Focal Point is the second most valuable mark in here because the only real challenges for this build are situations where, you know, there's one enemy left. I've already cleared the map. I'm looting stuff, and there comes America boss to pick me off, you know. So I want to be able to kill him really fast. Focal Point's good for that. Makes him take a lot more damage from Sniper's Mark. And, of course, it adds a lot of survivability when Legions, the second Legion spawn. You got, like, tons of high health rares around. A lot of them do less damage with this. Really valuable. I noticed when I was still figuring things out, I swapped from Far Shot to Focal Point. A lot of survivability improved. And I was much squishier then, but I noticed a major uptick in survivability when I swapped over to that. I don't recommend Far Shot anymore. It's good for Vengeful Cascade and stuff, but I think I noticed myself just always getting in the face of monsters anyway, so yeah, we go ahead and do that. All right, so we start off here, and we're going to go down, and of course I'm going to grab Heart of the Oak. That's 2% life regen. Or in the case of this build, almost, I mean, I guess it's 90 life per second, so it's almost 1 rage per second. Primal Spirit, super strong, gets a mana on hit. Yes, Mana Flask counts and Life Flask count from Divination Distillate only. I do get 1% increased quantity of items found through Divination Distillate for 10% increased Flask effect, also through Spike Concoction, by the way. And go ahead for 1 point, take this Global Accuracy Rating mod, which I actually need because I'm only 99% chance to hit. Actually, I think it says that here, too. Yes, it does. 99% right there. Okay, then, of course, we're going to go up. I wouldn't even take Charisma and all this. Honest to God, I wouldn't even take these if I didn't need to. But I do actually need them because if I don't take them, it bricks everything. So, fine. Okay, I'll go ahead and take Charisma for my 1 aura. Massive Wheel. Jesus Christ, there's so much value out of this. It's just crazy. Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 high value notables for 1. You do not need this to be double corrupted. I got lucky, got it. I like min-maxing the build. I actually get basically no value out of this because I don't need the reservation efficiency, but hey, it is what it is. Go ahead and take that. No corruption needed. But wow, Definitely the most valuable massive wheel of all three. Now, the massive wheel is used in all three builds, with the champion and the ascendant in different places, with elegant hubris also used in different places, in different setup. But you'll notice that I'm getting a lot of extra value here with increased projectile attack damage, chance to avoid shock, which is combined with 20% elemental ailment avoidance, and a storm shroud makes it so I'm elemental immune. No purity of elements needed. That's a big deal. Very convenient. 40% increased rarity of items found, combined with 15% attack speed, another 80% attack damage, and another 40% increased rarity of items found. I found this seed to be the very best one. Now, that actually is the good double corrupt. I think this was the best one for this setup. Now, there are a few other options. It's not the only one you can use, but you definitely want it to be of Caspiro, I think. Yeah, Caspiro, because this is the only build of the three that I am not going for attributes. I've cut the corners, not doing attributes this time. It's part of the reason why accuracy was so hard to get. But I just couldn't, I couldn't find a better way. For only 2 points, I was able to eliminate the attribute problem completely. And I could still get a good mastery down here for it anyway. One passive voices connected to, let's see, these medium clusters. I have 2 medium clusters that are damage, crit, just classic crit damage clusters. And then 2 of them that are actually for flasks. One of them is, this is kind of quintessential one. This is so strong. The Spike Concoction is special reserve for this build. Crazy strong. Highly recommend Chaos and or Lightning Resistance to cover the lightning resistance shortages on some of these. And percent life regen, of course, is really strong too. The other one is Peak Vigor and Special Reserve. I just think Peak Vigor was the next best option there. I really wanted at least 8 rage per second. This is how I had to do it. So otherwise it would be another crit cluster. Still got the 8 passive, just a very normal 8 passive Feed the Fury set up here. So this is where the leech is coming from. And leech is in fact 10% instant. Wow, isn't it just nice? I'm already taking this notable. So I get 1 point, 10% instant leech. So the Deadeye does have, I suppose, you could argue that the Deadeye has the best recovery. Actual life recovery, because it's the only one that has 10% instant leech, which is kind of necessary because it's kind of the squishiest one. 2 very good abyssal jewels here. You don't need to replicate these exactly. Blind is not necessary. Regen is not necessary. I suggest the only ones necessary is accuracy and phasing. And you can do better than me on the accuracy. You can actually get 100% accuracy with 2 abyssal jewels with higher tier rolls. Okay. Again, Sublime Vision. Watcher's Eye only with anger. Storm Shroud, that's all the jewels. And then Inspired Learning. I went ahead and got Corrupted Blood here. For this particular build, Inspired Learning is the easiest way to get Corrupted Blood immunity. It's 7 or 8 divines. There were like 20 of them available at the time. I already am taking these 4 notables. Makes me feel really good about Inspired Learning here. For the other 2 builds, I have a large Thread of Hope that is able to take all of these really good nodes here. But I don't really need that extra damage on this build. I definitely don't need the extra projectiles. I mentioned before you need at least 3 or 4 projectiles for Lightning Arrow. You don't need much more than that. I think all, let's see, I guess maybe the Ascendant has 7, but I think they all have 6. I think they all have 6, and any more than 6 is kind of unnecessary. You do need Pierce somewhere. I could, for some of the other builds, I could drop it here, but I mean, you can conveniently benchcraft it right here, or you could have it as the implicit on the quiver. If you wanted. All right, so that is basically all the passives. I just kind of, the rest, just really valuable mods here. A lot of the crit focus. Oh, suppress is not capped. Only got around 75% chance to suppress, but we do have the nice suppress is lucky, so it's activated more often than that. It's still really nice. So did cut some corners on suppress, kind of had to with how I set this up. Really mandatory, especially with the Scorch setup. 50% increased effect non-damaging ailment. That is a premium roll. Increased effect of non-damaging elements for this setup especially. Scorch typically does come out to cap, even against the hardest enemies in Delirium. And Scorch will come close. You usually see it between 20 and 30% there as well. Max life on that. This is the highest life threshold. Way higher life than either of the other 2 characters. So pretty proud of that for that amazing defensive layer again. Combining Progenesis, High Life, and Petrified Blood. Trust me, that's all you need to actually, you know, have pretty good survivability. All right, so that is it for the passives. Let's get into the, I guess, the PoB here. I forgot to mention I am going to take a look at the PoE. Just so we can kind of go over some of the numbers here. The full DPS number is, I think, yeah, in a way it's higher on the Deadeye than the Ascendant. I think the Ascendant actually comes out higher, but that's only because you'll notice that I did not take this mastery. Have 25% chance to treat enemy monsters resistance as inverted. It's no good with Scorch. It's not any good. It's actually a detriment if you do this against regular monsters. But especially for the Deadeye, I can already get Forces of Nature. Now, Forces of Nature is one of the most powerful notables in terms of damage. I mean, if I take the damage, just look what happens to my damage when I take that off. That's almost 20% of my damage when I take that off. So I really want to have that on there. But the Deadeye, very fortunately, can already get this for free, essentially. So I felt like this was a golden opportunity to use the Anger setup and then go for Scorch and just save points where I did have them all down here to get everything. Or you could put them in here. I saved a lot of points, got an extra cluster for that reason, and then got more damage, of course, because of Anger and everything. And what I want to show you here is if against non-boss targets, with my current, the way I have it configured, 27 million DPS on there. So all three of these are going to be configured the same way, but 27 million is definitely the highest number of all three classes, and we can kind of see how things are configured. To configure this up, I went ahead and I did full DPS for Burning Arrow, Ice Shot, Lightning Arrow, 2, count of 2, because again, shotgunning doesn't exist, but I'm told this is how people do it here. With Vengeance Cascade, you can legit say there's 2. I mean, look at this. A full million DPS for Burning Arrow, 500,000 for Lightning, like only about 500,000 for the other two. Look how strong Burning Arrow is. That's crazy. Alright, and then Frenzy, even Frenzy is a little bit, right? But Frenzy is, of course, its real purpose is to get a Frenzy charge. By the way, Ensnare Arrow does not work. I tested it with Vengeance Cascade, completely bricks it. So stop using Ensnare Arrow. Use something smarter like Culling Strike, I suggest. Now, Ensnare Arrow still does some damage. So, I mean, you can use it if you really want to. But also, Val Lightning Arrow not enabled, so the number does go up if I use Val Lightning Arrow. But I think most people just have Lightning Arrow regular. But definitely use Val Lightning Arrow. It's seriously strong against bosses when it is up, and if you target it inside the hitbox properly. Also, on a side note, let's see, you'll notice 8.5 regen. I am taking the Pantheon. It's super, super strong Pantheon we get here. Soul of Arakali. I've never had a character that benefited so much from Pantheon before. 10% reduced damage taken from damage over time. With a Petrified Blood Genesis setup, damage over time is probably the highest threat. Or at least can be. And so it's really nice to just get 10% reduced damage there. 20% increased recovery rate of life if you stop taking damage over time recently. Let's see what happens. So if I stop taking damage over time recently, suddenly I have over 10 rage per second. Just from a frickin' Pantheon. Mod. Debuffs expire 20% faster. People kind of scoff at that one. It's actually really strong, that one by itself. And I think it's especially strong on a haste Watcher's Eye mod. This combined with a Watcher's Eye haste will be nice for the Ascendant. And then perhaps the most valuable one is 40% Chaos Res against damage over time. So if I'm doing a lot of Delirium, I can go in here and say, have I stopped taking damage over time recently? And no, not that one. Sorry. Am I against damage over time? 46% Chaos Res. So actually ground effects, you know, like Delirium and, you know, Chaos damage ground effects if it rolls on the map, I get a great deal of extra damage reduction there. Really want to have Arakali on there. Aberrath is just in case it rolls with Burning Ground. Burning Ground's so crazy, you guys know. I don't really think there's a better option there. People ask, how do you deal with bleed? Just deal with it. Just out heal bleed. It's not that bad, really. Corrupted blood immunity is a good idea. So I do have 1,000 rampage in here. 10 gale force, frenzy charges, power charges, tailwind, alchemist genius, 50 rage because I do feel like I've raged a lot. Berserker also triggered on there. Am I leeching? Yes, it's a lot of extra damage with that large cluster. Have I crit recently? Yes, for a quick escape. This one, this character I think is in the middle. The Ascendant will be faster movement speed, but this one's better than the Champion. Or no, actually, I take it back. In combat, the Deadeye is the slowest character as far as pure movement speed. But out of combat, it's faster than the Champion a little bit. Scorch, max effect Scorch. Look how powerful Scorch is. You'll see this right here. All right. So this was kind of the numbers I was working with beforehand. 15 million. Max effect Scorch, 25% more DPS. That's kind of big. Kind of big. A little extra DPS if enemy is blinded. Enemy on low life for culling strike support. Yeah, frozen, shocked, full shock effect. I mean, you want to see how strong shocked is. This is why ice shot's not any good, because it doesn't do enough damage. If you fully shock things. Yeah. So yeah, Trinity support. Trinity absurdly strong. If I remove that, then there goes my damage. Sand stance for the projectile speed. That's it. That's basically everything there. The PoB, all the items are in here. Again, PoB link below. All of it's clean, nice there. You can plug your own in. Be sure to tick the right things. The full DPS number +2, and it should come out all right for you if you're trying to see what it would be like on your character with your gear. So that's it. Got to give you my final thoughts now, I guess. Final thoughts. Tornado Shot versus Lightning Arrow. Man, I've been playing Tornado Shot 5 leagues straight. I wanted to try something new. So I tried something new. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I didn't expect this off-the-wall, shake up the meta, break the meta thing to actually come out on top. This is probably the strongest Magic Find character I've ever had. It certainly is if I take into account the increased Magic Find stats, the actual increased quant and rarity. It's sure as hell the fastest Magic Find character I've ever had with the Mage Blood. I didn't expect to be tanky enough to handle dropping the Headhunter, but you know, a little bit of help from Inspired Learning is good. This is absolutely not a 6 portal play character. It's not even really a 5 or 4 portal. It's a 1, maybe 2 portal character. Every map, I'm only dying maybe 1 out of 5 maps, die once or twice in a really hard map, and that feels good. Feels good to have a character that good. I highly recommend this setup with duos. My God, apparently you can Scorch in a duo and then get all of your auras fed from the aura support anyway. Wow, I mean, so you don't even need anywhere near 1,000 divine budget to do this. Something like this if you have an aura support duo there. So that's exciting for any of you who like doing aura support. Highly recommend. I think Anger is going to be the best option for the Scorch in the event that you don't already have Scorch on there. All right, folks, that's going to be it for this video. I know it's long. Really, thank you for watching it through. I had an absolute blast building this. We're going to be showcasing this, the Champion and the Ascendant, through live streams today and tomorrow and here through the next week. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you there. I'll answer any questions I can. The comment section down below. Let me know if you think this is gonna shake up the meta any. I really do. I think it is. I'm really proud of being able to come up with something like brand new like this. The old and the new together, working together in tangent, and high budget or not. It's pretty cool. So with that, I leave you now. My voice is shot. The one take wonder is finished. And now I gotta close this out and edit the video and get it out to you. So thank you one last time. We'll see you in the next one.